One of my favorite pieces of fake propaganda, though, which it's actually really difficult to identify a comedic video versus a real propaganda video.
Yo, what's good fam, back with your boy Propagnda, and today I'm bringing you another video in my series covering my worst FPV fails that we like to call my worst FPV fails. Okay, today we're highlighting our natural ability to become one with nature, trees, hills and cliff sides. We'll also cover what I would consider the absolute worst fail of my FPV career, so stay tuned for that. So first fail that we have here, which you may be able to relate to or not, it's a classic of mine that you can find in the hit video titled One More Time. It's the Propagnda special where you are flying for like 30 seconds and then you crash instantly into the tallest tree. If you're familiar with my flying style, being in a tree is sort of my signature move, we would call it. So this was the very first pack at the spot that we call Treetops, very aptly named. I was super excited to get out for a fly, kind of got too overzealous, and wasting no time, I took the opportunity to become one with the tree. So I'm usually out flying on my dolo, and when this happened it was before I started carrying around my trusty drone retrieval rope, so it was all up to turtle mode to get us down. I've been pretty used to being in trees, so I'd often overspec the quad to make sure that the ESC could handle the abuse of this much turtle mode and over amping. Fast forward 2 minutes or so and the tree decided I could have my drone back, simply at the cost of hot motors. So a little lesson here, do a little once around the block before sending it, and now I always keep the trusty rope in my bag. If you are interested, I did record this whole thing and upload it to YouTube. It's called One More Time, it's on our channel. It's pretty dumb, but go check it out. Alright, on to the next one. So, back over to Shred Rocks again, and I was out with the legendary NZ Viking, having a little cinematic cruise around the lovely beach hillside, enjoying some of the coastal views from the south of the North Island. If you're interested in this full video, you can find it in the description. This is in the vlog number 3, rescue mission, I believe. This was back around, I think, 2019-ish. Flying the Remix V2 again, shout out to God. Flying the OG watermelon props, fam, you can see them in view. Having a little shred around, just trying to get slick with it. Been a nice warm day, but you know what, fam? I just realized I probably said last pack before this, and so I was blessed, you know, with a nice little hillside tree landing. That tree just came out of nowhere, and I was borrowing a friend's goggles, trying them out. I think they were the HD3s. My regular goggle at this point was the Attitude V5s, but I didn't have an SD card in these goggles, so there was no assistance in locating the drone. But determined to never leave a quad behind, we jumped on the old YY Express and headed up the cliff. I had NZ Viking covering from the air, but with no real clue as to where the drone was. We set out on a blind search with only the screams of turtle mode to guide me to where the quad may be. A quick disclaimer, I've got a few years of rock climbing experience and mountaineering, and I was confident with my abilities. The only variable being the gear that I had and determining the location of the quad. I'd sort of assess the situation once I got eyes on it. So with the screams of turtle mode guiding us, we started scaling up the hillside, cliffside, but I slowly realized that the echoing of the quad had tricked me into going the wrong way. So that was a nice little waste of energy. And then I had to scale back down the almost vertical bit of the cliffside using a technique that I had developed over many years of climbing that we've called the butt scoot. It's where you sit your butt on your feet and you just sort of scoot down the hill. And it's extremely effective on loose soil and some of the tundra that we have here in New Zealand. So fast forward another 5 minutes and I finally spotted the quad. Problem being, it was perched nicely on a crag on the middle of the cliffside, about 10, sort of 15 meters up from the flat, and about the same sort of distance down from the top where I'm sitting. So now this particular area was mostly made up of mudstone and sand, so climbing is sketchy at the best of times with the rocks crumbling away almost as soon as you breathe on them. So big brain decided to try and throw some rocks at it from the top to try and knock the quad loose, to which we had absolutely zero luck. I think I tried this for about 10 or 15 minutes. Long enough to the point where NZ Viking thought that I was in a bit of trouble and he decided to come up the hill. At this point I realized I'm going to have to climb if I want to get her back. Now I thought it would be safer to scale up from the bottom rather than scale down from the highest point only to slip and end up getting a backstage pass to meeting Tupac. So up we went. Now getting up was the easy part. Not too sketchy. Having no gear, I decided I'd climb up and then scale across a bit because it seemed to be a little bit of an easier line rather than going a direct straight ascent upwards to the quad. And then I was nicely reunited with the fallen victim. Had a little wee celebration on the mountainside. Look at her, you can see the adulation in her eyes. So now to try and formulate our way back down, needed both hands, so we clipped the drone onto the lanyard and started our descent. Following the line down was simple enough. There was one point where the mudstone in one of the handholds actually gave way. Thankfully, I had just moved most of my weight onto the foothold. I was able to stop myself from swinging like a barn door and coming off. So adrenaline up, sketched out, feet finally touch ground, and we're out. Okay, now listen here, fam. DVR helps. Rope probably could have helped, but I think it was my past experience, a bit of determination and confidence that really helped me get this retrieval successfully. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this yourself if you're not 100% experienced in this kind of thing. If you're not confident in your abilities or sort of like strong enough to do it. It was really stupid looking back on it. But here we are, able to tell the story, and hopefully you can have a laugh at it. Now on to the final fail, and the fail that I consider the worst in my FPV career so far. Now this time I was out flying with one of my team pilots, Redolin FPV. We're on another coastal adventure, getting in some cliff dives and wavy lines. The actual drone crash itself belongs to Redolin, but the failure is still on my shoulders also. Now, after a few packs, Redolin went out for a cruise. Now on his way back in, he experienced a bit of a video blackout. Now unfortunately GPS rescue wasn't engaged and he went down on the side of the hill. Due to the blackout, there was no real useful DVR info to go off, and we started searching around the beach until we heard the ESC beeper start going off. So from the screams in 8K PID loop, we were able to determine that it was up on the hillside. You can sort of see on the screen grab, it's quite steep. Drone's here. We're over here, and so this is where some of the fails start to stack up. I can't really speak for Redolin, but from my perspective, I could have been a bit more communicative with what I was doing as I went up the hill. I found my line up and I just sent it, started heading up towards where I thought the sound was coming from, and with Redolin close by, we sort of split up to try and cover ground. It didn't take us long to find the drone with the ESC screaming out for us. Now once we got the bird, we started heading down, and this is sort of where I fucked up. I deviated from the first line that I took up and tried to take a shorter route to the bottom. In my head, I thought get down as quick as possible. Less time on the mountain means less risk of danger, but rushing is probably 10 times as worse, fam. So we started making our way down, and as we're nearing the bottom, we got to a bit with an almost vertical runoff. I sort of butt scooted down without an issue, and I looked back and Redolin had made his way across to a slightly different part of the drop, and this is where he lost his footing, slipping about 2, 3, maybe 4 to 5 meters down. It was quite a high way up. You can sort of see where he is on the hill. There's actually a couple of frames in the video where you can see, and this is like right before he falls. Luckily, his wrist broke his fall. Literally. Terrain wasn't great, despite what I say in the video. But man, he handled it like a champion, eh? Getting straight up after sort of realizing there was no immediate life-threatening issues. I think he knew straight away that his wrist was broken, or something was broken. So he threw his arm in the lanyard to help ease a bit of the tension as we walked back to the car. Now I could see the bro was in a bit of pain, and I wasn't sure if he was in the best condition, so I offered to drive him to the hospital. But with the adrenaline sort of spiking, homie toughed it out and drove himself. I think he even picked up the kids from school before heading into the hospital, which is some good fathering there. So there's a few lessons to be had after this experience. If you fly with me, you're likely going to break something, but please try and keep it to the drone and not yourself. We've all broken a few drone arms in our time, but I think I can add breaking a drone pilot arm to my resume now, for better or worse. Redolin's such a good sport. He doesn't blame me for anything or hold any grudges, but I still tend to beat myself up a little bit for this one. The accident happened over about a year ago, and I sort of only feel comfortable talking about it now because he's fully healed and he's pretty happy to laugh about it now as well. At the time, he really didn't mind. I think he had to go in and actually get surgery on his wrist, which again made me feel really stink. But that's just, yeah, me just hovering a bit of weight for hurting my mate as we went out, just to try and have fun flying toys, and it ended up quite badly. Could have ended worse. I sort of think that's where my mind goes. If it had been any worse, I don't know how I sort of would have felt about this whole thing. But luckily Redolin's tough. But yeah, still count this as probably my worst FPV fail. out of it, I kind of came up with some safety guidelines now for when I'm flying drones. I think I'm gonna, like, if things like this happen again, because of my experience, I will try to likely retrieve the drone from, you know, where it goes down. So I think this is like the 5th or 6th time that I've had to do like a very steep cliffside rescue. But yeah, fam, that's the video. Thank you for watching. If you are enjoying the series, drop a like, drop a sub. Let us know if you still want to see more fails. Let us know if you don't really care. Tell me what I could have done better to avoid hurting the broski. And if anything, just go out and have a good old fly. Alright, I'll leave the rest of this pack here. Alright, fam, peace.
10 feet deep like a pilot of blow. Had to choke a motherfucker on the side of the road. I can feel my blood boil, man, I'm out of control. Wet suit big so I can shred when it's ice. Then lay in bed with your wife. Get mad head from your wife. Then get out of bed with your wife. Cause I don't cut the bread with a knife. Grip it like a man supposed to. Leather jacket, Mickey Mantle poster. Rock bottom through the buffet. Chicken wings flying every motherfucking which way. Ass burning while a motherfucker switching lanes. My pants rip away. Arm out the window, leave him crippled. Dog, it's been 6 years, I'm trying to get in contact with Pitbull. We got some business to get into. Short story long, this shit like soft porn. Write your name on the list and cross it off. I drag deer in the swamp, then I roll 25 times and disappear in the swamp. 4 Rolls Royces disappeared on the lot, and 4 Rolls Royces disappeared on the block. I had to wrestle 2 bears for the title shot. Kamikaze in a plane, baby sayonara. Spring.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Your ass be tripping.